Happy draft day, everybody. Round
Welcome.
one of the NBA draft is tonight, and we got some Mavericks rumors to dive into leading up to the draft. Harrison Graham, Jeffrey Cooperstein, of course, Dallas doesn't have a pick tonight unless something crazy happens. They do have a pick tomorrow night, so if they make that pick tomorrow night, we'll have that covered. But there's been some other rumors, some trades, some things that could happen, so we're going to keep you guys in the loop. And if you want to have pick-by-pick coverage of the NBA draft starting tonight, go subscribe to Chat Sports, our main YouTube channel. It's youtube.com/chatsportstv. If you see this thumbnail, you're in the right place. So go check us out over there. All right, Coop. Tim Hardaway Jr., the rumors have been ramping up. Marc Stein has had some reports that Detroit could be a landing spot. I think it's pretty clear that Dallas is going to do everything they can to unload his contract between now and, I guess, Sunday.
Yeah, that's what it seems like. You said, Marc Stein, with the report that the Pistons are a potential suitor for Tim Hardaway, and he added this, that Quentin Grimes is a piece that's been discussed going back to the Mavericks. I kind of have some interest in Quentin Grimes there. Had a decent little year there with the Knicks before getting injured and only playing 6 games with the Pistons. A younger guy, he's going to be a restricted free agent at the end of the season. So if this is the way that the Mavs wanted to go, I mean, I wouldn't hate it at all.
I would love to get Grimes back. Now, I find it hard to believe even Detroit, like that would be a straight-up scenario.
Yes.
Grimes is younger. His contract's much better. His arrow seemingly would be pointing up. I think you could argue that he would help you more than Tim would right away without even improving much. Isaiah Stewart's been another name that's floated out there as well. With Grimes specifically, you look at the numbers last year, he shot really bad in those 6 games with Detroit, so that kind of deflated his numbers. He was like 36% from 3 before those 6 games with Detroit before getting shut down for the year. So, he kind of profiles as kind of similar to Josh Green, really. I mean, I think
a little less athletic, I think, but probably better on the defensive end. And that's kind of what I think Grimes brings is he is a legit defensive wing, can guard 2s and 3s at a pretty high level.
6'5", he can shoot. I think, playing with Luka and this Mavericks offense, the way they operate, pick and roll with shooters around him, I think he could shoot, 36 to 40% from 3 here. So it's pretty intriguing. Like, I think he, with his defense alone, would be an upgrade over what Tim Hardaway provided the second half of the season, which again is like, what's the catch? I mean, are you throwing in? I'm certainly not throwing in a first
no.
to get Quentin Grimes, but is 58 enough to get Detroit to bite? Are you throwing a future second to get that done? Because Detroit be doing you a favor by taking on Tim's contract and unloading Grimes, who has some promise still as a young player.
And I think what also intrigues me is Grimes' contract status. He's a restricted free agent after this season.
Yeah.
So the Mavs would be sending out Tim Hardaway's $16.2 million, and they're taking Grimes back, which is just north of $4 million. So even if you're taking a player back, you're still clearing $12 million off your cap and getting you closer to that under the tax number where you can re-sign Derrick Jones with that full mid-level as well.
Yeah. So, I mean, again, that's why, I love the idea. I just wonder what the trade looks like.
Right.
Because why would Detroit do that? Without getting at least – now, the only reason they would consider it even for, a bad second-round pick is if they're just like, well, we're not re-signing Grimes after this year.
We'll just take the
expiring
$16.2 million and clear it off the cap, exactly.
But, I mean, if you're the Pistons, you would think you want some kind of pick in return. Would you do a THA for Grimes trade? I would. If I didn't have to give up a first-round pick, which I don't think the Mavs would at all, I would absolutely do it, even if I had to throw in a second in there,
Agreed.
Whether it's this year's or a future one. I think I'd make that trade. I think Grimes right now is probably your 8th or 9th guy in the rotation. I think he would have played playoff minutes for you, a healthy Quentin Grimes. So T for trade or P for pass.
The knee injury is a little bit concerning because, like you said, he only played those 6 games for Detroit and missed the remainder of the season. So hopefully he comes back healthy from that. He did have surgery to clean that up. So he should be a full go, but it's always concerning when you're talking about knees.
And look, maybe that would be a reason Detroit would just be willing to pull the trigger on this if they thought he was either going to miss some of this year or not be able to play much. They were worried about re-signing him. So a lot of factors at play there. Isaiah Stewart is the other Piston that's been mentioned. We've talked about him before on the channel, Coop. Shot a career best, 38.3% from 3. which kind of makes him playable at the 4 a little bit. I don't think early in his career he was kind of more of a small ball 5 because he didn't space the floor well enough, but now he kind of does. If he's your third big, he can play some center, some occasional 4. I still think you probably want to play him more at 5, but he's an intriguing piece that you could space the floor with.
Yeah, his rebounding is what really intrigues me. I would rather play him at the 4 than the 5, to be honest. You have Lively and Gafford, and then he's like the second guy behind Washington that gets minutes. You can play him at small ball 5 as well. He's an interesting piece. He only shot the ball well from 3 this year, so can he do it on a consistent clip? That's something the Mavs have to weigh as well. But I do like him. His contract is kind of big, though. He has $15 million over the next 3 years, I believe. So still a tradable deal, but
I think this one would be a straight swap.
It would
Detroit's kind of like, we just want the expiring deal. We'll give you guys the better player in Stewart, but obviously the Mavs are on the hook for 3 more years?
Yep.
2 more years. So, I'd probably rather do a workable deal around Grimes.
Agreed.
Because if it doesn't work out, you just let him go next year. But I'm not completely against it. Again, I think if you're kind of balancing short-term versus long-term, I think Stewart is in your playoff rotation,
yes,
whereas Tim is not. Like, if he's back on this team next year, I don't see a world where he's in your playoff rotation.
There's no scenario he's back on this team, right?
I think the worst case is they stretch away.
Yeah, I think so too. Here, I think the most likely outcome is they trade him for a salary dump. Maybe they don't even take a player or a pick back, and they're just clearing the $16 million off, and maybe they even have to attach a number 58 to do so. But I just don't see a way he's on this roster next year.
And quite frankly, if you had to do that, it'd still probably be worth it because I mean, your roster, you don't have that many free agents, so it's not like you have a lot of open roster spots to fill anyway. So it's kind of like, if you can clear the $16 million, re-sign Jones, and then kind of explore other trades, I think that's still probably a net positive at the end of the day. Regardless of what happens, we'll cover it all. Hit the subscribe button. We'll cover every single Mavericks move here on the channel. Hit those noties as well. That way you know when we go live and when we publish videos. All right, Coop, big trade went down last night. Mikal Bridges for 20 million picks and swaps and all kinds of stuff. But really, the reports that impact Dallas is that Brooklyn appears to be going into a fire sale, which is smart, quite frankly. I mean, this is kind of just all right, we screwed up with the Paul Pierce stuff way back when. We tried to make it work with Katie and Kyrie, and to Brooklyn's credit, man, they have recouped a shit ton of picks.
Yes, they have.
I think the KD trade ended up getting them like 8 first-round picks when it was all said and done.
And they're getting 5 here as well.
5 from Bridges.
And look, I think Mikal Bridges is a really nice player. Getting him for 5 first-round picks, it's not worse than Rudy Gobert, but it ain't that much better.
The only reason it's not worse, I would say, is because Bridges' contract is more reasonable.
Agreed.
If he was on a $45 million max or something, that would be tough. But I think New York paid a premium.
Yes.
Because other teams were going to trade for him, and they paid a premium, and they had the extra pick. So I certainly get it from their standpoint. I think the Nets are willing to trade off pieces here. Obviously, our old pal, Dorian Finney-Smith, I think is one that there'd be interest in. I don't think his role here would be what it was 2-3 years ago, but as a bench wing, I mean, Dallas certainly could have used that in the finals.
Absolutely.
Cam Johnson, another guy who fits that role. Bogdanovich, more so on the offensive end. If you wanted to bring in a bench scorer, I don't think you'd have to give up much for him. He didn't play that well for the Knicks last year.
And Bogdanovich also has a Liz Frank fracture in his foot, so nobody knows when he's going to even play again. As far as these 3 players go, I think Johnson is the best player, while Bogdanovich probably the one that you can get for the cheapest price, and I think that leaves Dorian right in the middle. Look, man, we know the Mavs like him. We know Dorian has an affinity for this organization, especially given what the Mavs did for him and his family off the court as well. So I could see a reunion happening, but it would have to be at the right price for the Mavs.
Would you give up either the 25 or 31 first to get Dorian?
I think you read my mind, because I was going to ask the faithful this question as well. I don't think I would. I definitely wouldn't
do 25 because everyone says the draft next year is loaded. I think at least being flexible going into that draft, whereas if you trade the pick, okay, like you're getting a premium for it because it's a loaded draft. Or even if you're picking in the 20s, you might find a rotation player there. So I like Dodo. The 31 pick, I could be open to, especially if you're unloading like Tim and the 31 first for Dorian.
Who
I
the
might
hell
be
knows,
open to that.
Who knows what the draft class looks like in 2031?
Yeah.
So.
But the 25 pick, if I'm trading that pick, I need a starting level player, and I don't think on this team at this point Dodo is a starter.
If it was Tim in the 31 first, I think I would consider it.
Yeah, I would do that trade. 25 first, though, I'm not barking up that tree.
Let us know down in the comments what you guys think. Would you trade a first-round pick for Dorian Finney-Smith? Type Y for yes and type N for no. We'll keep you guys up to date with all of the latest Mavericks news and rumors throughout the 2024 NBA draft and leading into free agency. It's here. It's a very exciting time and a busy week here in the NBA, so we'll see what happens.
Yeah, it should be a lot of fun. If any action pops up, we will cover it. Again, join us on Chat Sports tonight for the draft, and if any Mavericks moves happen, we will publish a video here. So we'll see you soon. Peace.